Okay, call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, April 17th at 5:15. Commissioner Ernst?
Here.
Commissioner Engel? Here. Commissioner Rollins? Here. Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright? Here. Any changes to the agenda? No? Public requests? We have any?
Anybody who'd like to speak on one of the topics tonight?
This is your opportunity.
Mr. Rich, I'm also going to have you talk during the agenda topic, but if any members of the public want to speak on it, this would be their time. You'll have to turn on that microphone and then give your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Bruce Rich from representing Don Estridge High Tech Middle School. My address at home is 4823 Sugar Pine Drive, Boca Raton. Thank you for having us here today. We are here representing the Don Estridge track and cross country team. We are looking to resurface and rubberize our track. It is 19 years old, having been built in 2004. Currently, I would consider it in poor condition. It does not reflect the quality of Don Estridge High Tech Middle School and what we have done there. There is a spot in the track on the second lane on the back side at the 210 meter mark where there is literally a pothole developing in that lane. It was patched, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years ago. I'm not quite sure when. And it is literally sinking. Our students know about it, our athletes. Unfortunately, when we have a visiting team come for a meet, the other athletes are not aware that that pothole is there. We saw it the other day when we walked the track because it was wet and it puddled water, but when it's not puddling water, you can't see it until after you've stepped in it, is one of our safety concerns. Our track serves our 1,300 students at Don Estridge High Tech Middle School, but also we serve Sabre Soccer, Boca Raton Lacrosse, rugby clubs. Also, the Boca Raton Police Department does some training runs there. So it's not just our students that are provided a service there with the track. I've been at Don Estridge for 13 years as the track and cross country coach. And during that time, we have taken the cross country team to states up in Lakeland frequently, and having the track updated, more modern, would help us to continue with that legacy that we have started at Don Estridge. Over the years, I have been blessed with some great volunteer parents. However, I have never had the group that I've got right now. And a few of them are here with us today to speak on this behalf. We are talking about doing a fundraiser with Activate. If anybody knows that fundraising source, I don't know what we can raise, but I am hopeful that with the parents that we have that are volunteering their physical time and their effort with their children, that we can raise some funds to go towards this project. Also, I have asked Paul Arcelia, I probably mispronounced it, from CSR Construction. They are the ones that have put the proposal together for the track. So again, I thank you for letting us come here, and I'm going to ask some of my parents to step up and give a parent perspective. Thank you.
Hello, you could hear me. My name is Mara Zaparagos, 128 St. Cloud Lane, Boca Raton, Florida, 33431. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here. I'm here today to express my strong support for the rebuilding of Don Estridge track field from pavement to rubber. As a concerned citizen and a parent of a student who uses the track regularly for both cross country and track and field, I believe this change is long overdue and will bring numerous benefits for our school and our community. First and foremost, a rubber track field is much safer than a pavement one. Pavement surfaces are hard and unforgiving, which can lead to a higher risk of injury for athletes who use the track. Rubber surfaces are softer and more shock absorbent, reducing the risk of impact injuries and making falls less dangerous. This is especially important for young athletes who are still learning proper techniques and may be more prone to accidents. Just last year, one of our athletes injured and broke her arm after falling off a hurdle. This injury could have been less severe on a rubber surface. In addition to safety, a rubber track field offers numerous performance advantages. Rubber surfaces have more bounce and energy return than pavement, allowing athletes to run faster, jump higher. This can be especially beneficial for competitive athletes who are looking to improve their times and distances. Furthermore, rubber surfaces are more durable and require less maintenance than pavement ones. Pavement surfaces can crack and deteriorate over time, requiring frequent repairs and resurfacing. In contrast, a rubber track field can last up to 20 years with proper maintenance, saving the school district time and money for the long run. Finally, a rubber track field is more environmentally friendly than pavement. Rubber is sustainable material that can be recycled and repurposed, reducing waste and pollution. By investing in a rubber track field, the school district can demonstrate its commitment to sustainability and set an example for other institutions in our community. In conclusion, I urge you to approve the rebuilding of Don Estridge track field from pavement to rubber. Not only will this change make the field safer and more performance friendly for our athletes, but it will also save time and money on maintenance and demonstrate the commitment of sustainability. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adam Goby at 2845 Northwest Timber Creek Circle, Boca. Good afternoon. I'm a parent of a Don Estridge 7th grader. Our daughter is currently in 5th grade at Calusa and will be a 6th grader at Don next year. We're big fans of Don Estridge. It's a wonderful school filled with amazing teachers and a superb administration. The infrastructure of the school is in good shape. However, the running track is not. It has cracks and holes and is in need of the standard maintenance of resurfacing. A resurfaced track will create a great experience for the over 1,000 students at the school as they're outside, getting fresh air, running, staying healthy. Equally as important, a resurfaced track that repairs the cracks and holes will create a safe and risk-free environment so they can exercise without the hazard of rolling an ankle or even worse, falling and breaking a bone or even hitting their head. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak in front of all of you. We all truly appreciate the thought and consideration of this request. Thank you.
Ingrid Levy, 11383 Little Bear Way, Boca Raton, Florida. I just want to comment less on how the track's going to improve health, but more how it helped my daughter. She's a 6th grader at Don Estridge. And the first day that cross country started, she was so scared. She was like so scared to go to the locker room, to talk to anybody, and just like go to cross country. So she ended up not changing into her cross country clothes because she didn't know anything about the locker room and ran in her joggers that day on the first day. But throughout the process and her gaining confidence and joining cross country, she became very outgoing, started to have fun, got over the fear of going to the locker room. And I know that this helps kids, not just her, but also other cross country members. So the cross country team builds confidence, and it's a great way to make friends, stay healthy, and gain a love for running that could last a lifetime. She plans on continuing cross country throughout 8th grade. So I know a new track would be beneficial to her health, her joints, and definitely for the other runners. And also gives kids pride in the school that they have the new equipment and the new track, and they feel proud to be out there. So thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Demick, 2374 Northwest 32nd Street, Boca Raton. My daughter is one of the athletes that has qualified for states, and she's very intense trainer, has participated in cross country at Don Estridge and also track and field. She's 7th grade. But I would like to just comment on the fact that our track and field and cross country program in Boca Raton leads the way with Coach Rich here. And he and the staff of Don Estridge has really been the leader in our whole district in getting meets off the ground and hosting events. And so I think a rubberized track would be a great advantage for the school and a great improvement. And a big thing that young athletes struggle with is shin splints. And so it's not good for them to run on an asphalt track versus a rubber track. So that's a big concern where we have to actually have athletes, take a break and not run, or they have to run on the grass, which again, there's issues with running on the grass versus running on the track. So it would just be a great improvement for the school. And I think as a leader in our track and cross country environment, it would be great to have a proper track to support that leadership. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else tonight? Anybody online? Nope. All right, we will close public comment. And for the minutes of the previous board meeting held on April 3rd.
Move to approve.
Okay, Joanne?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, on to regular business.
Commissioners, I'm sorry, I missed this when we said changes to the agenda. Does anybody object to putting the Don Estridge thing first so they don't have to wait on us to talk about pickleball all night? Is everybody okay with switching those two? I'm so sorry I missed that at the beginning of the meeting, but.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll talk about Don Estridge track resurfacing first. I spoke to Coach Rich several weeks ago, talked about this project. So everybody's aware, we do have a relationship with Don Estridge. We pay for all the maintenance of the athletic fields out there. We helped build the athletic field that's out there. So we have an interlocal agreement that allows for use of our sports groups to use that field, and they apparently walk on the track and use that as well. Melissa and I went to the school on Friday. We walked the track. I absolutely agree. I'm not an athlete at all, but it's in disrepair and definitely does not represent what I think Boca schools do, what I think Boca schools should have. So it's definitely lacking. I did, just so everybody on the board is aware, I reached out to our government liaison, who is Chris Garrison with the school district on this. I did not hear back from her. I also reached out to Mr. Barbieri on this. I have not heard back from him either. So I don't have any feedback from anybody else, but I just want to say that I do think that there is a need for it. I don't know what our place is in this. We're not obligated to fund it, but we do have some users that use it. So Mr. Rich is here to answer your questions. We also have somebody from CSR to talk about the quote that was included in your agenda packets.
I appreciate the parents coming in and talking to us. I know it's not something you normally do. And, coming in and facing a commission like this, it's greatly appreciated that we hear from the public on these things. So I preface that by saying we don't know where this is going to go after we go through our discussion, but this is a part of the public process of vetting things, and you're part of the vetting process. So my questions to Coach Rich is, my kids ran track at Boca High, and I think they have an asphalt track there. Okay. Yeah.
Currently now. They have a rubberized cushion track.
Yeah. Okay. When I ran track a couple of years ago, I did high jump in the 400 meter, and we had asphalt track, and I was saying to one of our staff members here that in the high jump back then, the pit that I jumped into was sawdust, and surrounding the sawdust pit were feed bags full of sawdust. So that's dating me a little bit. I'm happy that our recreation facilities are a greatly deal improved from that time. When we built the facility at Don Estridge, we were sorely in need of recreational space, the rectangular and the ball fields, and it's been a wonderful relationship. And through this interlocal agreement, Boca Hoops has used the facility, the field house. When we did the design and planning, I approached the school board, Tom Lynch, who you probably don't remember, but Tom was the chairman of the school board, and he and I are in the same industry, and I hope that would prevail upon him to throw in a little money into the pot for the construction costs that we had. And we were able to get $20,000 from Tom to go toward the maintenance every year. I think it's probably a really good idea from the standpoint of injuries having a softer thing to run on, one that's more, environmentally acceptable due to the recycling ability of it and the durability of it as well. My question that I would ask the commission is that since we don't really have a dog in the fight when it comes to the actual track itself, is that not something that we could talk to the school district about helping us fund that? If we were to agree, and I'm not saying that this is where it's going to go, but I mean, I would think that, if we're going to partner with them, I'd like to partner with them and have them have some skin in the game too. I mean, if they did Boca High, I would see no reason why they couldn't help us do this. And the concern I have too, I must admit, is that where does this take us? We do one school and then we may end up having to do another school. So I think there's some issues that we have to sort through, quite honestly. And I'd love to see the softer track out there. I'd love to, the thing that is kind of frightening is seeing this little dip out there, because if you're running in a lane, you're looking at a runner ahead of you. You're hardly looking at where you're running on top of, and that could be a serious problem. And so we regularly inspect the actual fields to make sure that we have eliminated those, because we've had injuries from people that have twisted a knee and ended a potential collegiate or NFL career at some of our facilities. So I know at this age group too, you want to make sure that your kids have a safe surface to run on, and I would certainly agree with that. I would just throw out to the commission is that if we're going to do something like this, and I think I could get behind an initiative that the school board came in and went in partnerships with this, and as I said, the concern I'd have too is where does this take us down the road? Doing one, then you have to do someone else. In all fairness, but I would like to help out in some way if it were possible. But I think that the school district needs to. But they've got a big initiative building schools, and I think they need to have a bigger initiative doing maintenance at some of the facilities, because I've been to some of the school facilities that are lacking some of the things that we take advantage of, that we take care of on a daily basis in our park. So those are my feelings.
Steve?
First of all, thanks for coming down. I appreciate hearing from the public. It's very important, and we need more people to come down to create a demand so we can charge for admission. But all that aside, I understand where you're coming from. Both my kids up in New York were in high school sports. My daughter in track and in lacrosse. My son on the baseball team, and my grandson now is playing lacrosse. So I certainly empathize with with what's going on, and I hear about it also because my daughter is now a middle school counselor in a school in Virginia. So, what I'm hearing from you, I understand. But by the same token, I also agree with Bob that we need to do this in concert with the school district and to see what part they want to play. This is something really the school district should be on top of and should be budgeted for. But again, I'm certainly willing at some point, once we get everything figured out, what our part will be in this, and with the understanding that we can't, if we do for Don Estridge, do we have to do for Verde School? Do we have to, et cetera, et cetera. But I certainly am sympathetic to your situation. I know what it's like. I hated running. I still hate it. But I understand what it's like to run on an asphalt track and the wear and tear it takes out of a kid's knees. And they're a little bit too young yet to have to go through the same wear and tear an adult does. But anyway, so that's where I am with this.
I got a couple questions, but my view is life is short as a middle schooler. So you're talking 3 years. And so whatever's got to be done, it's got to be done pretty quickly. And waiting around and getting into the bureaucracy of things is tough. So what my first question is, where is the status, Brianne, of the Palm Beach School District agreement?
It's a layered agreement because we have such overlap between the city and the district. So the city, Greg has it to look at it.
City of Boca has it.
The city of Boca is looking at it, but there's, I don't want to say the disconnect is with them either. There's a lot of overlap with the city and the district facilities and then the school district. So yes, Greg is looking at it. I don't know that it's not going to need to be a 3-part agreement, and that's where this gets very
okay. And then
layered.
No problem. And will the track be open to the public if you had it? Rich, I guess, if you can.
Thank you. Excuse me. Currently, as we said, with saber soccer, lacrosse, rugby there, the police department there, so it is open to the public. The question about whether it being open to the public actually falls on how often is the gate locked. I have run private practices on Sunday with athletes from Boca because the gate's open on Sunday. I know it's open on Sunday because we host a church on Sunday at my school in my classroom. So
okay,
how often it's open or the gate being locked kind of controls how open is it to the public. So to answer your question, yes, it is.
Okay, it's more flexible than usual. And I was out there in those fields pre-pandemic, and it was horrible then. So I can only imagine what it's like now. Yeah. So that said, who would manage the construction of the project?
The school district would run it. They have a contract with CSR, and the school district doesn't have to go through the pesky city permitting process.
Okay, so that answers that. Well, I mean, out of the box, I think that unless you're going to start this project, tomorrow, you need to fix that divot, because that's just a hazard. And now it's a known hazard, it's public, you really got to fix it just as a safety measure. But I would say what's different about this, Bob, and the other schools is that we have an existing sharing agreement with Don Estridge as a school. And because we have this existing sharing agreement, they're already giving us a lot of access to a lot of different things. And it's kind of a quid pro quo relationship. I've been out there when my daughter was the youngest age on the soccer fields, to, a lot of different things. The rugby players are out there all the time. So I know the school has been far more flexible than the others. I do, as a parent in the area, I think as the school district needs to step up their game on the recreation facilities for sure. And they shouldn't let it go in disrepair, and it's got to be a community effort. Okay. So kind of going into this, I thought, well, a logical thing is a third. If we put a matching message out there of a third for the district, and that roughly, if this number holds, that's a third is 83,000. But that's not all of it. I think the school district should contribute something to it. And I also think it's beautiful when the community says they want it and they're willing to put their money behind it. So, but because it was our project to begin with, and all of this recreation stuff was done at Don Estridge, really at our request of things, I'm very supportive for sure of this district. I'm happy to make the motion to offer a half of the proposal and let you figure out where the other half goes. But I could be convinced to go higher because I'm worried about it not happening soon enough. And that's what we do here. We collect money for recreation, and it's not a bad thing to have a field done that can be utilized right away. So it's unfortunate. And where does it lead us with the other ones? You know what? If the school district, I think Spanish River's fields across the board are horrific. Spanish River High School, I just think it's wrong. And I think that's the responsibility of the school district to do something. And I think would be nice to help, but we don't have an agreement with them. We have no idea what they want. we know they want a lot of things, but we don't have real material. Here you have a proposal, you have parents, you have everyone willing to do it. Let's make this thing happen as fast as we can. That's what I would like to do.
I have some questions. So, but thank you all for coming. My kids were in the first class at Don Estridge, and everybody said you're crazy to put them in a new school like this. And the educational benefits were just unbelievable. They're both very successful now. So I'm all for Don Estridge. I do have some questions though. What's the timeline on a project like this?
My name is Paul Arcel. I'm the president of CSR Construction. Do I need to give my address or? Okay.
Yes, please.
Home address, business address, home. Yeah, 90 Southeast 3rd Court, Deerfield Beach, 33441. To answer your question, because the track is asphalt and really needs to be remediated, meaning there's a sinkhole. First of all, what we want to do is explore that sinkhole and make sure there's nothing down underneath that needs to be repaired. But then we would mill and overlay the entire track with 1 inch to 1.25 inches of new asphalt that has to be virgin asphalt so that the surface, whatever surface goes on it, will adhere to it properly. So it's not like paving a parking lot where you would get a normal paving contractor. If someone doesn't know how to pave a track, it won't get done right. So when you do a paving operation like that, probably about a week for the paving to take place. But then you need to let the asphalt sit 30 days before you put the surfacing on it. So the remedial work needs to be done up front. Then once that's done, the track needs to cure with the sun. It lets the oils and stuff come out of the track. And then it makes it more agreeable to the adherence of the new surface. So once the track surfacing begins, you probably have another 3 weeks. So, you know, all said and done, it's probably a 3 month at the most, but 30 days of that is cure time. So you got about a week or two of paving, you got about 30 days of cure time, and then about 3 weeks of actual surfacing and striping.
Well, I agree with Craig that, you know, if we can get something going, you could have the summer to do this. So that would be ideal. As far as heat goes, the rubber versus the asphalt, which is going to, be hotter for the athletes?
Actually, with a synthetic surface for track, and generally this, and I think what we quoted here was a red track, but because of the colors of the track, the surfacing itself, although it's going to be hot, everything in South Florida, especially from 12 to 3 in the afternoon, is going to be hot. It's definitely much less heat than what a normal asphalt track would be. So there is some reflectability in the red, and there's a reason why you make tracks red for the most part, because they deal with the sun much better. They don't fade as bad. So that's really why red is the most common color. Although now, everyone's putting in different colors and school colors and stuff like that, which you can do, but it just adds to the cost.
Okay, thank you. As far as the relationship with having the school board participate, Coach Rich said something about the Boca PD also using. Could we get the city to contribute something, possibly?
Just candidly, I doubt that they will contribute to this. I was told that they use it about 4 times a year, but I guess they've tabled some of that use since the pandemic, but I doubt it. And also in the interest of time, I'm not sure what that process would look like, but you guys are welcome to hit up city council for money for this too. Don't let me dissuade you from that. Sorry.
Okay, thank you all for coming. And I'm all for helping out in some fashion, but I do think the school board needs to contribute as well. And your fundraiser, thank you for organizing that.
So I guess, yeah, go ahead.
On it too, because I've heard people in the past, Coach, talk about where can they go run, because sometimes they go to FAU and they get run off of the track because they close to non-students. And if we were able to do something, I'd want to have some type of regular hours where there's like open train, where you can go run on the track without having a permit, and keeping the gates open without threatening the security of the school, of course, but where the public could have some access to the track, because the surface that you talk about sounds exciting, to have something like that in place to run on versus the cinder track that I ran on in high school.
If I could, I think we're probably the same age because I ran on that same cinder track. And tracks have come so far. I've been doing this for the 13 years that I've been at Don Estridge. I coached track in Michigan before I moved to Florida, and I can speak to the quality of different tracks. And one of the things that I would like to do, and I am retiring from teaching next December after the cross country season. So I've got one track season and one cross country season. And my big push, along with other retired coaches in this area, is to make Boca Raton more of a running mecca. And our school has kind of started that. And we want to push that to other areas. And I have run on FAU's track, and I have been kicked off of FAU's track, and I love it because it's college level track and it's what I'm used to. And then I go to the high schools, and they're not quite FAU's, but they're in very good shape, except for Spanish River. And yes, it needs help because that's where our regions are every year. Okay. But if we're going to make Boca Raton the hot spot for track for Southeast Florida, South Florida, and Florida, this is the kind of thing that gets it going. And this is the kind of thing, I don't know if y'all know Coach Rick Rothberg, but he and I have talked about having a Boca Raton track. And then FAU did their track, and he and I kind of backpedaled on it. But he and I have been talking about, if we're going to do this and make Boca Raton the running mecca that it needs to be, and I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Kalamazoo, Michigan is a hot spot for running, and it's known all over the state and the Midwest. Boca Raton could be that, but it would take this kind of effort. I definitely agree that the school board needs to be in on this, and I'm not going to talk percentages, but I know my parents. And we're not talking about raising $3,000 or $10,000 here. We will contribute, I promise, because those are the parents we currently have. But that window of opportunity and fundraising is going to close very, very shortly, like at the end of this school year, May 25th. Because I need 30 days to run this fundraiser through Activate that I want to do. And if they do what I believe they're capable of, I think we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that we can throw to this. So while it may not be a third of the deal, I think it can be a substantial amount of money that my parents are willing to throw at this. It's the world we live in today. And I've had great parents, as I've said before. I have never had a group of great parents, which is what I have here. And this is just a little piece of it. The rest of them are at my track meeting that I'm supposed to be at school right now.
Many of you know us as local contractors. We're a family business, been around 50 years. So we do a lot of sports related facilities. But just speaking from past projects that we've done, the interesting thing is when we build a track, especially if it's for a community, the interesting thing of all the facilities that we build, whether it's a field, court, the track immediately becomes a community center point. And if it's a public facility, we did the track at Carter Park in the downtown Fort Lauderdale. And the minute that track was done, that was this focal point. The community benefited by the track more than any of the other appurtenance of that facility. So it's just an interesting thing. And it's pretty much every program that we've ever done where we've renovated their track, either from a community standpoint, it becomes a focal point, or that track team that had no business having a track team all of a sudden has elevated itself to regional and state level because both boys and girls can compete in that sport. So it's interesting. And I just thought I'd add that. That is true. And if it's a community facility, it would benefit the community.
If I may, to Commissioner Rollins' comment, the 2003 ILA that we have with the school board does provide for use of the facilities by both the district and the school board, as well as a priority for each. The district and our user groups have exclusive use after 5:30 p.m. on weekdays. the school has exclusive use prior to 5:30 on weekdays, then there's a mechanism that provides for a proportionate allocation on holidays. So those things are covered in our current interlocal agreement.
Coach, the one thing that I would want to emphasize is that I would like to have regular hours. Folks just like to walk a track, and it's easier to keep track of how far you've walked if you don't have a Fitbit. And I would want to have regular hours for that without, and I'm very sensitive to school security, and would not want to interfere with that at all. But is there some way that you think that we could accommodate open use of that without causing any kind of a security issue with the school?
I was hoping that Mr. Barbieri would be here today. I can't answer that. I can't speak for the district. I can speak for what I know tracks have done, as Paul was saying, for communities. I watched it happen in Kalamazoo when I was a coach up there, and I've watched it happen down here. I've watched it happen in Brevard County, where one of my co-coaches, one of the guys I went to college with, and he's doing great things up there at Satellite Beach with their track, and it is a community track. It's the high school's track, but after hours, like you said, I personally, I would want the track open all the time. Is there a security issue for the school? I'm sure there is, but again, I can't speak for the district. But I was hoping Mr. Barbieri, maybe through the liaison, we can kind of get that ball rolling. I am definitely looking to have this done this summer. Track season ends, start the construction, cross country starts in August. I start out day 2 of school with my cross team. Am I going to have it whether we do the track or not? You better believe it. Are we going to states again this year? You better believe it. Okay. That's just how this group is. They're just like that. So wherever we go from here, I think it is an opportunity for the community.
Coach is the principal behind this initiative, I would assume. The principal of Don Estridge.
Oh, he definitely is.
Okay.
I invited him and said, "You want to come and talk?" And he said, "No, I have no desire." So, but yes, he definitely is. He has been on the first time we walked the track with Paul. He was with us. We all went out, walked the track, kind of did an assessment. That was what, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So we started this ball rolling back at like the end of January, and it has taken us a while to get everything, the pieces in play. So I wish that Mr. Barbieri was here. He and I have worked on a number of projects over the year, but he did have a commitment up in West Palm this afternoon that he couldn't step.
Well, I think as our attorney said, we do have access to the facility after 5:30 in the evening, which is by that time the students are left the premises, I would assume, unless you have after hour programming there that takes place. But that is something that I know the community really needs is a nice track, and that would certainly be an asset to the facilities that we do have now. And I would certainly encourage the district, if we participate to some degree, that we make sure that we have instituted some regular hours that the community knows that they can go without being asked to leave the premises and walk that track. So thank you very much for your dedication.
Thank you. And I can add one little thing about the police department, or the police athletic league is the way I think of it. Pre-pandemic, they were out there much more than 4 times a year, more like monthly, bi-monthly, all the time in the morning before school started, and they used it for training runs. So I don't know if they still do that and I pull into the parking lot after they're gone, whatever, but pre-pandemic, they were out there a lot. So I don't know if that helps or if that's another location we can go to, but.
More question. As far as maintenance with this type of surface, what do other communities realize for a yearly maintenance cost?
So the biggest thing with a surface like this is, as you go through time, the weather, you'll get mold and mildew that'll get on the track. I would suggest generally what we do with tracks we build is about every 2 years, that track needs to be washed and brushed, not necessarily pressure clean because that can damage it. But we have a machine that'll come in and clean it and brush it. But that's pretty much it, is keeping the debris off it and keeping it from mold and mildew. The surface comes with a 5-year warranty standard. But we have surfaces similar to this that have been down 10, 11 years. You can also, about after year 8 or 9, or as the track ages, you can top it one more time with a 3 to 5 millimeter coating. That'll give you another bump of 5 to 6 years. So if you take care of it, the surface can last well over 15 years if you maintain it and you just do some common sense things.
We're not responsible for maintaining it. That would be the district, the school district. Yeah. Okay. So I guess where we're at, we just so everybody knows though, like I think Don Estridge is kind of separate from other schools in the city because we do have an ILA, like a separate ILA with them. So we already have a relationship with them versus like other schools, which we don't. So I think where we're at is that we're all kind of on board with it, but we need to get with the district and see where they're at with it. And unfortunately, Brianne wasn't able to get a hold of them. So I think that parents and school, I think you also need to go to the district and convey the importance of the track to the district, because I'm not sure if they necessarily know that. And if they're another voting body on this and they're going to be deciding to put money towards it as well, they need to know, just like we need to know how important it is to you. So, but I think in the meantime, I think we can get a motion to move forward for Brianne to discuss this with the district and see where we can go in terms of percentages and things like that. And I would say, go ahead with your fundraiser, because it's probably going to get done at, hopefully as soon as possible. But again, we have to work with the district on this. But I would definitely go ahead with the fundraiser and see how much you can raise. Because if by the end of the year you have $50,000, we know you have $50,000. So we can take that off, and now we know we're at $200,000, right? So I think go ahead and get as much money as you can get for it. And then we'll work with the district to see where they are and how much money they're willing to put towards it. And I guess we can go from there. Because I think we're all in support of it and we think it's a great thing. I had shin splints and that was from grass. So my seventh grader is a runner, but he's at Verdi and they don't have a track. So, if he's able to go run over there from 5:30 to 10 at night, that'd be great. So I think we're all on the same page with this. I just think we need to get with the district to discuss it.
So in that spirit, I'd like to make a motion, but I really do want to put a number on it, only because I think one of the lessons we learned from the tower is whoever is fundraising needs a set dollar amount. They need a set time frame. Their time frame is really short. And I think it will come together if we do something on that front, but it will clearly the school district has the need at all these other schools where we don't have the agreement in place. This one we do, and this one makes it so much easier to do.
We didn't build the track, and the track is not part really of the ILA, but it's almost like a good faith. We're part of the community. We want to do good things for the community as well. So, I think we just need to keep that in mind. You know what I mean?
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, my thought is we put a number out there and then at least look, I'll put it in the motion, but we can yay or nay it or do something different if you have a different number, but it's still going to come with the school district has to come back and say, hey, they're participating. They're doing something in it. They want it. It's all going to have to come back to them. This relative to our budget is an insignificant amount, and I think it needs to be done, done and done quickly, so that the coach can retire knowing that he did that. And just a couple considerations, given that he's from Michigan and I'm from Michigan, I really like yellow and blue. And so yeah, so just a thought for that field. So, and it does tie with Boca High. See, he's got a blue color. So, that doesn't influence anything. So I'll tell you, the second thing I want to tell you is for the police foundation. There is a police foundation, and I'm a member of their board. And this past year, we gave the police, I think it was over 250,000 of different things to purchase. But you have to go through the chief, who is wonderful. and tell her that's another possible source for you. She determines what is needed. You know, it's all the things that they just can't quite get done in the overall budget, and everyone's budget constrained, because that's good fiscal management. We make people think about what they want. And I think if they're participating, they might find it useful. And I think it's good for the open environment too, that having police on site has a physical presence of deterrent of things. So, and it's good for the interaction. So with that, given we have an agreement in place, and I think the concept to have more open use is good. We should consider Boca Chica for a track. I didn't even consider it at the time. It's all walking trails, but it's nice. Why not? There's 212 acres out there. Consider that out there. So Mr. Chaffee would love that. And so, okay. So given there's an existing interagreement, and given that there's a community need for this, and given that we're going to ask, the proposal is to ask Brianne to work with the school district and the school to get a game plan together to build the track. I'd recommend that the district contribute a half of this proposal and let them come back to us if they need, if it doesn't work out, or what, if it's too much. I don't, maybe when they put this thing out on fundraiser, maybe they get more than they need, but my suggestion of half is 125,000, and let them work on getting the rest of it somewhere else. A maximum of 125,000.
And keep in mind too, that you guys really need to spearhead this, because if the district is the one who's constructing it, you got to push them to, I mean, because it's already April, right? And if you want this done in June or started in June, it needs to be brought up with the district and got going. I mean, they do things pretty quick, I think, but, you know, we'll get in contact with them, but please keep going. And don't let them forget about it. We won't forget about it, but, you know, I just suggest doing that and going to them. So, okay. Do we have a second or any further?
You want me to clarify a little bit? Yeah, look at Joanne. She's floppy motion. So the motion is, given the existing relationship with the Parks District, Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, and Don Estridge, and the community desire to implement a new field track at Don Estridge, I'd like to make a motion recommending that the district contribute up to 125,000 for this project.
Our residents all have access.
With the addition that there's open
that.
access,
Yeah.
At some point.
Right.
Additional.
Part of the discussions that Brianne's going to have.
It'd also be nice to have a sign out there too, so.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Nope. Joanne.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
You guys are welcome. You're welcome to stay.
Now.
You could stay and hear the pickleball talk. We'll talk. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, moving on to number 2, the Patry Park pickleball operations.
Okay, so we talked about talking about pickleball operations. As you guys know, we are building 18 courts out at Patch Reef. There was big plans to have that done by December. That will not be happening. We are still in the site approval process with the city. It's an arduous process. We had another meeting today, so the project is backed up, and I would love to tell you that maybe by July we'll be out to bid. I think that's being optimistic. So with that in mind, we still have to figure out how it's going to be operated. And the city put together a proposal. They met with Melissa and I. They talked about it. It was a very perfectly fine proposal with staffing and programming. It wasn't quite ready for this meeting. That's why I sent everybody the email letting you guys know that we did hear about it. They're still doing some edits and tweaks. Obviously, we have more months than we wanted to have to figure the operations part out. But we're going to talk tonight about the process. I think our Chair wants to probably talk about the timeline and what's happening with the site approval process, but we need to figure out if we want to do an RFP, if we want to go with the city, if we want to see if we even ever get site approval to build it. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Unfortunately, there's just nothing to go through.
I was on the meeting today and it was extremely frustrating, and we voiced our frustration to them. You know, there's lots of different items that we went over that CGA went over. There's some environmental issues that just weren't clear, and the steps weren't clear on what we needed to do from the get-go. We would go back and we would get additional things that we needed to do. So it's really extended out the timeline. We were supposed to go out to bid in March, and now we're probably not going to go out to bid at least. I mean, it would be great if we went out to bid at this point in August. So, I mean, there's numerous boards that we have to get approval from that we weren't sure if we had to get approval from. We do have to get approval from council. Council goes to one meeting a month in the summer. So getting on all these boards, getting the resolution done, all that stuff takes a ton of time with the city. And with the delays that we had, it just added on months. So it's super disappointing, very disappointing. And again, we voiced that to them. They apologized, but it's still, you know, it doesn't make up for the fact that it's a very convoluted process that they have, and it's not clear at all. So, you know, we are where we are at this point. CGA is working hard, trying to get everything done that they've asked for. They're sending lists of the different boards that we have to go to, and the timing that we have to get on their agendas, and the agenda we have to get on for council. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Maybe we should just move it over to Ocean Breeze. I don't know, but that's kind of where we're at.
Say that in jest, but
just a question. Do we have anybody on council that could run point for us in all this bureaucracy?
Well, so to the mayor recently and voiced we actually sent him a document that we were working on that kind of outlined specific issues that we've had throughout this whole process, starting, when was it, in August that we started this process. And he has passed that along to the city manager. I haven't heard from him. And I asked him, I said, you know, we're supposed to be a partner and we're being treated like a developer. And I get they have to go through their steps to make sure that we're meeting all the codes. I get that. But, you know, the whole process is you go 2 steps forward and you get thrown 3 steps back. And so I voiced my frustration to him, and hopefully he'll get back to us on this, because I said, this is for our taxpayers. It's for your taxpayers, which are almost the same exact taxpayers that we have. And it's wasting time and it's wasting money. Everybody's asking for pickleball. We're trying to get this done as fast as possible, and they're not partnering with us on this. It almost seems like they're holding us back. That's what it feels like. And I'm just being honest. So
there will be additional fees also for the environmental issues. One fee we don't know, because I can't even explain to you how they calculate the fee, but we have to.
Very confusing. Even CGA didn't understand it until they were explained it today, which was 3 meetings after the fact it was mentioned from the beginning. So, you know, I'm going to try to continue to work with Mayor Singer to see where we can go with this, because he knows the importance of getting this done. But at this point, it's not going to be done in January or December. It'll be done in the summer at this point, if we're lucky.
We need an advocate on city council to help us with this. And I don't think, you know, the mayor's got bigger things, but if there's like a new member on council, 1 or 2 of those that haven't been bound up by the bureaucracy, who don't have a fear of making a statement or trying to push us through. And I know just the person I'm going to call after this to try to let this person know about the issues that I mean, this is deja vu all over again with, you know, Ocean Breeze.
And that was a walking path.
Yes.
So, you know, I have talked to another council member who has voiced her opinion on the fact that she has spoken to numerous developers who have the same frustration with the permitting process. But nothing has changed. It just is, it is what it is, and they don't want to change. So,
well,
to your point, we're not a developer. We are, taxpayers pay us. We don't have development dollars. So to treat us like a developer, I don't know of any other developers in the city that pay for like 60% of the rec services department, but that's us. And we pay for a lot of city parks. We pay for our parks. I don't understand the treatment of saying we're just like a developer. So.
Well, I think that we ought to make it known to the folks who want this facility how we're being held up by the folks that don't seem to care how important it is. You know, train stations are important. A new city hall is important, but a place for people to recreate and play pickleball is not important. It's important. And we've been after this project, and we've come to the point now where you're both are frustrated. I could tell when I talked to Brianne this morning, the phone I picked up was red hot.
My Apple Watch was going off several times in that meeting. Your heart rate is elevated right now. I was like, okay.
I mean, Melissa, you know, she's the one who deals with this day to day, and she is very, very frustrated. So
when is our next joint meeting with the city council?
Who knows? We've requested,
and the last I heard was that they would work on the schedule once those other members were sworn in. I had to follow up with the city clerk because I've done a couple of public records requests and another issue with early voting. So we have a lot going on.
Do you know how we got pickleball as to where we are right now? Because people were in our face all the time. We got to do the same thing with the people downtown. Don't just, you know, put it on the calendar and do it for a week later. I mean, worry the heck out of them because this is important to a lot of folks. And we promised a lot of folks we'd be playing pickleball in January, and I don't like to think that it's not happening. So I challenge you, Brianne, to just get as tough as you can with those folks over there, and let's stay on top of it. And I hope that the one person in this audience that's a pickleball, two people that are pickleball fanatics in this room, or three people are. Anyway, the one person there here that I know has perseverance, and with Raul, I think that they make a dynamic duo. So they need to be talking to us. You need to be talking to city council, Mr. Turple. I refer specifically to you because I know that you have, you and Raul are just fanatic about getting this thing done, and we are too.
Commission, can we open up public comment in regards to the
Yes,
pickleball?
definitely.
Okay, go ahead. I was just going to say we need to get Pitbull Raul over to city council.
Oh, 19155 Fairlawn Way, Boca Raton. I am not a city resident, but Raul is. Just like you, I think that as commissioners of an elected commissioners of the community, you are affected by the community. Boca Raton Pickleball Club has over 1,000 people on their site. I think we've been reluctant to use that power or situation, but from what I'm hearing, I don't think we'll alienate the board here, that it's time to talk to our members, talk to our people. You go down to El Rio, come to open pickleball here on Wednesday, Friday night. I mean, it's crazy with the amount of people staying in the line. So I will tell you that we will make the commitment that I don't know if it'll be the next city council meeting, but it will be a city council meeting that there may be several hundred people there, letting the city council know that this is unacceptable. From what I'm hearing as a citizen is that the tax district is prepared to move ahead quickly. They've funded this thing. They're ready to start go to bid, start construction. And the city of Boca Raton is basically holding it up for no logical reason. So yes, that commitment is being made to you all, and thank you for what you're doing and allowing us to speak to the city, and we will get a group to go down to City Hall and speak to them.
Go ahead, Steve.
Just like to say, first of all, thank you for that. Second, it's more than just a meeting. It's 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 meetings in a row. Enforce. Make your voices heard. Okay. It's the reason you're sitting here, and Harold, who has been at every meeting since I don't think I remember a meeting where you haven't been here except for when you were sick. There you go. Because one of the things about this commission is that we're so receptive to hearing from the public. And it seems to me that while individual council members may be receptive toward hearing from the public, there's something else there. And I think that is what needs to be addressed. And that's where the pressure needs to be put. So if there are 15 boards or 10 boards or 8 boards that we need to go in front of for pickleball, let's find out what those 8 boards are, why we have to go in front of 8 boards to get something done. I'm sure, and maybe I shouldn't use this name, but I'm sure if Mr. Batmazian has a project that needs to be done, and he sends one of his favorite attorneys in front of the city council, that project gets done with a minimum of hassle. All right. And we should at least be treated like that. We are responsive to the public. We have an obligation to act responsibly and do the projects that we have set out to do. And it is incredibly frustrating, when I think about how long it took just to get the piping done for Gumbo Limbo. That was something that's just getting done now, and it was started before I sat on this board 10 years ago or 11 years ago now. Something has got to happen to break this bottleneck so that we can get things done quickly and get them done when the public needs them, not that it's 6 months from now. I mean, we're still waiting for an Ocean Strand sign. Why? I don't know. I know.
They dug the
Eventually.
holes today. It's going in there. We want the inspector to look before we pour the concrete. That's it.
Okay. Anyway, I said my piece.
Hey, Brian, would you be sure to make available to the pickleball people the issues Steve touched on about the different places you have to go and the problems and where the log jams happen to be, so when they go to city council they can speak with authority about what's holding things up?
But we'll give it to you.
I hear you. I'm sorry you had the frustration with dealing with the project. It is kind of deja vu between Ocean Strand and Boca Chica, all the things that have gone again. But a couple thoughts. One is I agree wholeheartedly with Bob. Focus on the ultimate customer base, which is Art and Raul and the 1,000 pickleball players to go to city council, the workshop, and at the council, whatever you have to do over and over. The problem I guess I see on the whole thing is it's an opportunity for the collective bodies to address is the city of Boca has grown significantly over the past 40 years, and the environment has been in some ways well run. We have some of the best parks, we have some of the best roadways, we have some of the best facilities, and it's a matter of prioritizing things as they go. But there are rules and there are regulations that are kind of there. And it should be fairly straightforward. And I don't believe that Mr. Bat Mason or anyone else gets a special treatment. There are regulations that they have to follow, and so they go through those regulations. The challenge is that there's this list of things that everyone comes back with, and it's opinions, and there are a lot of inserted opinions tied into the regulations that don't make any sense, because it may be a good opinion, but it isn't the regulation. You have to follow standards of whatever it is. And if the city adopted an ordinance with a regulation, we need to follow that. So I think we're following those things. We're doing our best, but from what I can tell, it all roads lead back to the city manager, and he's prioritizing the projects that he has. This is a strong city manager government. That means the elected officials make a determination on pay and some decisions of priority of projects, but that's it. He makes the decisions on what's done. So if this is not one of those priorities, it's not going to be done. And all I would say is I'd ask, for a priority project to get it done. And he has to get that message that it's there. The fear is, will there be retribution? Will there be alienation? Will there be a general fear that one of our projects won't get done because now we've asked for something and we called out, why can't it be done? That's kind of the living fear that we've often gone through as a group. And it's unfortunate. And it's personally not a good environment for the community to be. We should have open communication, open dialogue on some of these things. Some things just have to be done to do what's best for everyone. But this is not a hazard we're creating. Okay, so it is something that we all talked about early on for a long time and at a joint meeting, and now it will be further delayed. And I personally see a double standard of what went through Ocean Strand, how we had to go through a pathway. It's not a site plan for any means. It was a simple fix to make it open. And it's just a lot of bureaucracy for a pathway. Now we're talking about a pickleball center, a little bit bigger. That's why we hire professionals to do things. And we have the same contractors, same regulations. But I'm just fearful that it will be, one of our other projects will get delayed because we're asking for something. And I'm really disappointed.
Yeah, but I mean, we're here for the taxpayers, so we shouldn't be afraid of any retribution from the city at this point. This is our second project that this has happened, and we see it happening, and we're going to call them out on it because it's just not right. So I understand they have to follow code and things like that, but it's not a streamlined process. Like I said, you go 2 steps forward, you get pushed 3 steps back. And it just doesn't make sense. And I get it. It's probably like a full overhaul of the development services approval process, but it's just, it just doesn't make sense. And to have CGA on the phone to be explained like specific items on how to meet what they're asking, and then having them email a list of the boards that we have to see, like this should be there for a project at the very beginning. Say these are the items that you need and these are the boards that you need to see from the very beginning before, it just doesn't make sense. And maybe I just don't understand it, but that's not what I'm getting from other people who have been in this process and the city council members that I've talked to. It's a very convoluted process, and they're just refusing to try to deal with the issues.
There was a gentleman in development services 4 or 5 years ago who a new hire, and I spoke to him because I was working with something over at the church that we needed to get help done. He said, I'm new here, and I see all the road blocks that we have and trying to get things pushed through. And I forget what it was. We had to have a fire inspection, but it was like you're saying, they don't tell you the steps until you make one wrong step, and then you got to go back to step 1. And so after that comment, I thought that's a breath of fresh air. Well, he lasted 6 months before they got rid of him, because he wasn't following the protocol. And so, I'm not fearful of all of retribution. In fact, I want to shed a light on what's happening to us so that the people who are creating this problem know that the pressure is going to keep coming at them, and it's not going to go away. And we're not the only ones that any developer that tried to put something up in town has had the same issues. And it's almost like a badge of courage for the city that, oh, I slowed those people down, because whether they're doing it intentionally or whether they've been told to do that, I don't know how much building is going on in town now. I mean, we're getting close to being built out. So sooner or later, maybe some of these people will be out of a job. But I don't think that we need to back off. I think we need to just press harder and try to get our message across. And unfortunately, as Craig said, we have a very strong city manager, and he's not subject to a recall vote. He's in the drop program, and whether or not that's where the issue is being held up or not, I don't know. But wherever it is, we need to find out and see if we can't get this thing pushed through. We've been talking with the pickleball people for quite some time, and it is a very popular sport, and we're holding up the recreation that the community has asked us to provide.
I admittingly play pickleball a lot. And when I go to Sugar Sand and when I go to El Rio, when I go to Patrick and play, I tell people that I'm a commissioner, and we're so excited because we're building these 18 new pickleball courts, and they're covered and lit and blah, 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 going on and on. When are they going to be built? January. Awesome. That's so exciting. And now I have to go and say, well, gosh, you have to go to city council meetings because, they're not going to be built then. It's going to be months later that they're going to be built. And people are so disappointed because especially when winter comes, I mean, those racks are full. Like you have to wait a half hour, 45 minutes for another game. Summer, I'm sure will slow down. It already has started because it's so hot. But, I mean, it's something that's really needed. And pushing it back just has our residents who are taxpayers who are paying for this really want it. And, it makes no sense. It really doesn't. So
I have a suggestion for, the people who would rather play pickleball than go to a city council meeting to admonish, the city council. Have them email, at least have them flood the city council with emails. Brianne, I just want to clarify, Rec Services isn't holding us up.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to, make everybody know that Greg and his team are still, cooperating.
No, they helped us get before a board that we weren't supposed to go before yet. So they've been trying to help us.
I appreciate their efforts, and I appreciate all your efforts because I can't imagine how frustrating this must be. These, some of these boards are safety concerns, or are they just bureaucracy?
Environmental.
I didn't understand if there was something in the code, whether like if the Gopher Tortoise is a certain distance of the project area, or this is just the opinion of the environmental person that says we need to move so we have to go through FWC to see what the next step is in terms of if we can put a silt fence up to separate the Gopher Tortoise from our project area. But then is that enough habitat for the Gopher Tortoise to inhabit? Or is it better for us to relocate the Gopher Tortoise to a new location? If so, we need to do that. And then so
they have a plan at the Gopher Tortoise Preserve, but that's based on something that they had done in 1990. So they were able to get by with that plan.
A maintenance plan.
A maintenance plan
for the new Gopher Tortoise Preserve that's off of Hidden Valley and just west of the railroad tracks there.
That's a city project. They're able to build around the tortoises there because they had done something in 1990, somehow had the foresight to do something so that they would be able to put their path in.
Limbo, don't we have Gopher tortoises over there? At that little area?
That's in that's not where we're not doing instruction, but like, So it's just very unclear on some of these items. But like I said, CGA is working, they're contacting FWC to move this process forward. And we're doing the best we can to meet all their requirements, and we're doing it as fast as we can. So they're working really hard. But like I said, it's a very frustrating process.
To clarify something. When I talked about Mr. Batmazian getting not having to encounter the delays, you brought up Craig, priorities, and that's where the problem lies. He's got a higher priority in the scheme of things than the Beach and Park District, and that's a part of the problem when there are certain people, and it's not only him, and it may not even be him, but I'm using him as the example. It seems like they only look at us, and I'm talking about the city administration, not so much city council, but the city administration as, well, okay, they're going to give us money and we're going to do with that money as we see fit. And their projects that they do without our involvement just don't mean anything. And that's the sense that I get. And this has been going on now, I'm sure longer than I've been sitting on this board. I'm sure Bob has been encountering this for a while, and Susie as well. But that was my point. Is some things get a greater priority than they should. And I'd like to know why.
Let's move on. So two things we have on the table, whether you want to go out for some kind of proposal for who's going to run it. Can they go on dual tracks? I mean, this is going to take its own path. Whether it could, we don't know if this is going to take 6 months, a year, or 2 years, or 10 years. So should we not be prepared for the longer term? And the longer term is, there is a need for additional pickleball courts. Can we convert some more pickleball courts from tennis to pickleball as an interim measure? We can always convert them back. They're not that difficult. Is it wasted dollars? Yeah, it's wasted dollars because we thought we were going to build a Patch Reef pickleball center, but we're not right now. We don't know when that's going to happen, but we can convert tennis courts, hopefully without much constraint. And it seems like it's probably the right thing to do because the whole sport industry is kind of transitioned, and it continues to transition. So that's one thought, is so do a conversion. Think about it look at the opportunities for the next meeting to say, should we just do an interim measure conversion of some more courts? At least it's lit at night. It gives the summer usable thought. Second thing is on the who's running it. I understand the city put in a great proposal. That's great news. I'm glad to see they're interested in doing it. But what we always said is we needed to get fresh ideas. So clearly there are partners in this whole thing, but we should look at all options. So I would say let the RFP go out on the partnership. We just don't have a date of when it would go live, but at least we've keep it on track. We don't know if it's 6 months, a year, or 2 years, but at least keep it alive. And then you might get more ideas that you can bake into the proposals as you go. So those are the two thoughts I have on it. And then lastly, just continue on with the pitching it to the city to see if you can break down some of these barriers of the time.
No fear. Don't be concerned about retaliation.
But I mean, what else? Our relationship isn't that great still. And I don't know what retaliation. I mean, I guess ocean breeze could not be a breeze when we go to develop it, but it seems like the projects are difficult no matter what we do. But I'm still trying to keep glasses half full with this whole thing. And I know Brianna and Melissa are super frustrated with it, but I think we just have to keep plugging along. And now that the people who are involved with pickleball in the city understand where we are at with the project, maybe we can see if we can put a little bit of pressure on the city now that they know there's these issues. Because I don't really think they knew there was issues before. So maybe now that they're pointed out and aware of the fact that taxpayer money is being wasted, then maybe they'll do something about it.
Well, if Craig is right about the priorities of the third floor, then the more people that can pound on their third floor about the priorities, perhaps we'll, make some progress. I don't want to see this thing languish, and go into limbo. There's absolutely no reason why we can't keep pushing on this, and we got to go through the numbers, but we also need to keep front and center with these folks downtown. And if the third floor is the holdup, then let's identify where that holdup is so that we can apply some pressure to that point.
I mean, I know CGA is just about ready with the bid documents, right? I mean, they're almost ready to go out and ready. Yes. So we're just in development services now. So we're working our way through it. We'll do the best we can. But so in terms of the operations, is there a motion of any sort to
so, real short. Oh man. So 3 steps. 1, I make a motion that we encourage our executive director and our chairperson to work closely with city staff to press forward with the development project of the Patch Reef Pickleball Center. The second part of that motion is to go out to RFP for the operations.
The motion for the RFP. Can we just do the motion, just one clear motion for the RFP?
I love the first one though.
It's too many steps. We're on it. We're on it. Okay. We just need just one motion for the RFP so it's clear.
Okay, so I rescind my first part and I'll go straight to the second part, which I still like the first part. I might add that. I'll make a motion for the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District to go out to bid an RFP for the pickleball operations at Patch Reef Park.
Second. Discussion. Joanne.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins. Yes. Commissioner Vogelsang. Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Regular business is complete. Approval of payroll and invoices.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $3,271,212.99.
Okay.
Commissioner Ernst. Yes. Commissioner Engel. Yes. Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang. Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. Reports and discussion items. Director Harms.
Commissioners, we had our kickoff meeting with WZA for the playground renovations at Patch Reef Park, and we had David and Stacy Ogman attend the meeting. They talked about their experiences using playgrounds because they have 2 children, one with significant physical challenges and one who doesn't. So they talked about their experiences with playgrounds and what they'd like to see, the pros and cons of different accessible playgrounds in the area. We also had Allison Reeves, who runs the special needs program at the YMCA here, to share her experience bringing groups of kids with different abilities to playgrounds. And so all of them contributed some really important information to WZA. And it was a very, very emotional and also positive meeting. I think we walked away with a lot of good information, and WZA anticipates getting us some first designs in about 60 days on that playground. Weather permitting, the trenching and the installation of the new light poles over at the Racket Center will start this week. Obviously the weather wasn't permissive today, but hopefully we'll get some sunny weather and finish up getting the lights installed at the Racket Center. Permitting was submitted for the roof work at the community center at Sugar Sand Park. And so the roof is expected to take between 10 to 12 months total. So they'll see some disruption over there. And we're talking with city administration about, if there's a lot of noise, how we'll help advise the groups and get staff some noise canceling headphones, things like that. So anybody that has sensory issues can manage that while they're over there. And then the DeHornley maintenance facility contractor was given notice to proceed starting April 22nd. So that'll be underway over at DeHornley Park. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one quick item. As the board is aware that we are continuing to monitor some of the action taken up in Tallahassee by the legislature, which is now in session. There is one bill I just wanted to bring to your attention. It's referenced as Senate Bill 620, pertains to ethics training requirements specifically for special district board members. The bill, since actually our last meeting, the beginning of the month, has passed unanimously in the Ethics Committee and the Government and Oversight Committee. It's currently on the next committee agenda for the 19th. We have every expectation it'll continue to move forward as prepared. What it would require is 4 hours of ethics training for all special district elected and appointed board members. And if it were to be adopted, it would take effect on July 1st of this year. We'll continue to monitor the bill and advise you all to the extent that it moves forward through our legislature and to the extent that this requirement becomes imposed on our members. I wanted to make sure that the chair and the board members were aware. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, I just have a quick question for Jake. Is this ethics training annually or is
It'll be an annual ethics training requirement. It's an amendment to Chapter 112. Currently, all municipal elected officials and all state elected officials are required to receive 4 hours of training annually. This would extend that requirement to special district board members. And this would be on ethics, sunshine law, and public records, both the statutory ethics as well as the Constitution.
That's going to really help those folks that don't have any ethics to go through this course.
Just a couple of things. First, I'm very encouraged to hear about the meeting with WCA and the Ogmans. I'm probably putting the cart before the horse here, but I'd like to see that park named Jordan's Park after Jordan Ogman, who's David and Stacy's son and in special needs. And anything we can do to expedite this project. This one is because, and I don't know how else to say this, the nature of Jordan's affliction is that he could be great one day and the next day he could be gone. So his life expectancy is maybe another year, according to what the family has been was told at the outset. So I'd like that to be something that the commission considers as the project goes forward. But other than that, that's it. Thanks.
Couple of things. One, I think we have a policy on naming of parks, so I think we need to look at that to be sure that we're, falling in line with that proposal. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I'm just saying that, that we spent some time developing a policy, and I think we need to take a look at that. We're talking about sports that are expanding. Years ago we never heard of pickleball. And now it's a coming thing. Years ago, lacrosse was touted itself as being the fastest growing sport in this country. And I think pickleball has probably exceeded that. Another sport that you may not be aware of is a sport called futsal. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Futsal, for those that are unknowing, it's a game played on a small field about half the size of a tennis court. Is it 5v5, I think, or something like that. There's an initiative within the recreational soccer program to develop a futsal program for our community. And we have, I think there's some time that we have over at the Sugar Sand Park community facility for futsal. The ball's played with a little smaller ball, a little heavier ball. But it's great for developing your ball handling technique, because when you get onto a grass field, the place really slows down. And it's played on a small enclosed field to keep the ball contained within the field. And we have a perfect spot for this facility, and I'd like to throw this on the table and have consideration to explore what could be done to do that. We have 6 unused tennis courts over in Ocean Breeze. Nothing been done with them. They're gated. The parking lot is still in good condition, and I would like to have some consideration done to see what could bring that up into where it could be a futsal facility that would be managed by the recreation, where you'd get a permit to play there. So if you had a team that you wanted to train over there, or if say Sabre wanted to have several nights where they could have open play monitored by somebody who was teaching them how to play futsal, I'd like to explore that. It doesn't require real high standards. It doesn't, wouldn't necessarily be noisy. You have regular hours that you could maintain with, closing it down at say 9 o'clock or 9:30 so that it doesn't disrupt the neighbors. But I'd like to have consideration from the commission to explore that possibility.
Right, the one that the city owns.
I know.
Good luck, Bob.
No,
No, just kidding.
I'm just scared. I was scared to bring it up. But,
What's the surface? I mean, at Sugar Sand, they play on the gym, but normal surface is like a shorter, like turf almost.
No, I think there's a special surface that you'd put on there that the person who would know more about that would be somebody that also knows more about pickleball than I do. And he sit in the audience. But I know what I'm just saying is that, can I throw it out there, have Melissa investigate the possibility of us doing that and see if that was something that would fit within our recreation program, because we don't have any place where you can have just open play. And I think it's good for the for young kids. I mean, I've gone to some facilities down in Dade County, and they have dozens of these fields.
Down in what park is it? Amelia Earhart Park, I believe it is. They make a ton of money off of it too, and they're constantly busy. And it's great for development of tactical ball skills and things like that. So
and I kind of had that in mind for the other facility that we made, when we were talking about the racket facility and other options. But in the meantime, we could probably finish this up in 2 years. I'm just kidding. I mean, it cannot be a real complicated thing to do. The surface is already there. There's no turtles over there. And I think it would be something, let's at least explore it. Commissioner, would y'all be agreeable to doing that?
I would, yes.
Very agreeable, Bob, but just point out to you that there's no turtles there and there's nothing else there. And there's also no bathrooms, because we were turned down that there never were bathrooms there before, but we couldn't repaint the floor there so that they could use it for pickleball, for anything else. I mean, it goes back to your same,
well, I think
same
that,
friends.
I think that the same way we did the dog park, we could put in a temporary restroom facility on there. Is the dog park still using the trailers? Okay.
Oh,
so yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that I know it'd make a lot of people happy to be able to have that facility. I've watched it. It's not like indoor soccer because there's no walls. You're not playing off any walls like that, but it really does improve the training for our kids who, like the coach here was from Don Estridge, about his success with his teams there and having a good place to train. We've brought a lot of notoriety to Boca with our training programs, with our youth soccer programs. And this is just another thing that we could offer to our recreational community. So, okay, thank you.
Where did everybody park?
There's a parking lot right beside there, Sue, right beside the parking, the tennis courts.
Right, but I mean, I thought that you wanted that whole facility.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
No,
I'm just trying to clarify.
Just the tennis courts that are there. That I wouldn't want to expand it any more than that. And then the parking would facilitate the turnover there.
And I'd like to see futsal incorporated, down the road into the onto the east side where the new racket facility is. I mean, that's a strong possibility to get that incorporated as long as we're in the planning stage. That would be a great advantage to us. Otherwise, Brianne, I'd like for you to reach out to some of the people that I put you in contact with for the Patrice. They still want to be involved. They just weren't able to make that meeting. And I think they have good ideas.
I did. I'm going to share when we have the initial designs with them. They could just share feedback through email.
Nothing else. Thank you.
So we are good to go.
Move to adjourn.
Okay. All right. Joanne.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Okay. We are adjourned.